welcome to Ottawa in Canada. UNESCO made a good decision to go here during the 150th anniversary of Canada. Even if we have still some strong winter days with minus 20 degrees. The UNESCO Week will be in the Shaw Centre of Ottawa. The UNESCO Week for Peace and Sustainable Development presents a unique platform for discussion on two key programs of the education sector, namely Education for Sustainable Development and Global Citizenship Education. Furthermore, there is a practical contribution in achieving Target 4.7 of the Sustainable Development Goal number 4, Quality Education. The week will focus on the issue of teachers and teachers training and highlight best practices in the field of education for sustainable development and global citizenship education. It's a pleasure for us to present best practices of Japan Atma. For this reason, we will have also a visit in a rural school 100 kilometers outside of Ottawa.
I'm honored to welcome you to the UNESCO Week for Peace and Sustainable Development, focusing on the role of education, organized by UNESCO and the Canadian Commission for UNESCO. In 2016, at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said, "Diversity isn't just sound social policy. Diversity is the engine of invention. It generates creativity that enriches the world." For this, Prime Minister continued, "There is no greater force than education." And I quote, "The range of experiences become the mainstream in Canada, and for me, that happens within our public schools. It happens within our education." And I fully agree, ladies and gentlemen, because education, first and foremost, is a public good. Building a more peaceful, more sustainable future must start on the benches of schools. For this, we need new forms of education. We need education of quality that reaches every girl and boy, and especially, I would say, girls. We need education that provides relevant skills for the markets of today and tomorrow. We need education that promotes understanding between cultures, that strengthens the resilience of societies. And we need teachers equipped with the skills and confidence to foster these competencies. This is the importance of this UNESCO Week. Education is the bridge to connect peace and development in ways that are sustainable. This is why we are more than confident that education stands at the heart of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And in the presence of Ambassador Dessima Williams, I wish to thank the President of the General Assembly for his leadership here, because his initiative to include into curricular educational goal for sustainable development is a wonderful example of the importance of education all across the board for the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Education, which is embedded in Sustainable Development Goal number 4, is a foundation, we believe, for progress across all the others.
During the official opening of the UNESCO Week, we had remarks by Irina Bukova, Director General of UNESCO headquarters in Paris. Now we have remarks by Ambassador Dessima Williams, Special Advisor for Implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. She is from the United Nations in New York City. In addition, Irina Bukova will participate at the session Talking Across Generations.
The interconnectivity that exists between all the goals is evident between sustainable development and peace. Today, we witness many conflicts around the globe that impact hundreds of millions of people, leaving them displaced, insecure, uneducated, lacking proper nutrition, lacking their full power as human beings. During the high-level dialogue that the President convened in New York on the 24th of January on this topic of sustaining peace, sustaining development, speakers reaffirmed that there can be no sustainable development without sustained peace, and no sustained peace without sustainable development. This we must continue to work for. For this, we congratulate UNESCO for historically making the connection between sustaining peace and sustaining education. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, education plays a central role in achieving sustainable development, which means educating for peace through a myriad of ways. It brings knowledge, education does. It empowers. It generates respect, tolerance, justice, and appreciation for peaceful means of solving conflict. Education harnesses the imperative and the beauty of living together. Member states have the primary responsibility to implement the Sustainable Development Goals, but the duty to educate the public about those goals in order to raise global awareness to the critical importance to them and to gain commitment to implementation. This belongs to all of us. Therefore, the work of UNESCO and its partners on the Forum for the Global Action Programme on Education for Sustainable Development and UNESCO's third Forum on Global Citizenship Education is both commendable and encouraging. We cannot do such a big job of transforming the world alone, but together, especially with the inclusion of women's experiences, perspectives, and leadership, we are able to achieve much, and indeed, that inclusive practice of leaving no one behind can definitely help to make education and the planet more sustainable.
I'm very encouraged by this discussion, and you may count on us, on UNESCO, that we will continue this ambition that we have in order to achieve a different mentality, a different state of mind within the United Nations and wider. So thank you very much for giving me the floor. Thank you.
End of 2015, the United Nations announced the new Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. One of these new 17 SDGs is quality education. Quality education is in the heart of the new Sustainable Development Goals. UNESCO has a commitment for this goal. I have here today Julia Heiss. She is a ESD team leader and responsible for this program at UNESCO headquarters in Paris. I just want to ask you a few questions. Is UNESCO on the right track to develop and implement the SDG number 4, quality education?
UNESCO not only has the commitment to implement it or support countries implementing the SDG, it also has the mandate. UNESCO is actually behind the drafting and formulation of the goal. Together with UNICEF, they were leading that process. And we regard this goal as very comprehensive and complete, really looking at all the challenges education poses. It's promoting education at all levels and beyond, lifelong education. It is promoting an education that assures access to for everybody, that assures equity, quality, and also, and that's a particularly new element in that agenda, the SDG 4 goal, is the principle of relevance. So education being relevant with regard to the new challenges we are faced with, global challenges from peace to climate change, and this is particularly related to the topics we are dealing with in this week here and within our program. As you know, I'm working on education for sustainable development that poses since many years already. UNESCO has been leading the decade for education for sustainable development since 2005. Starting off with the question, what kind of education do we want?
What are the main goals for the UNESCO Week these days in Ottawa, Canada?
Yes, the current week is now, we are halfway through, it's Wednesday. For the last 2 days we're particularly discussing pedagogical approaches, challenges to practitioners and teachers for education for sustainable development. Today, a second group of practitioners, but also policymakers, colleagues from academia and the private sector have joined us. That's a group working on global citizenship education. So we brought together those two communities. We have gathered around 400, 450 experts here in Ottawa to exchange experiences on how ESD and GCD can be taught in the most effective way. And I think it is a very positive atmosphere here, because we don't only talk about the teaching approaches, but we also try to demonstrate them. We have a lot of youth here as well. They also give us feedback to the approaches we are testing and using and demonstrating.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy your next days.
Thank you.
During the UNESCO Week here in Ottawa, also best practices are presented. Atsuko Shiwako is the founder of Japan Art Mile. Since over 10 years, she is engaged in education for sustainable development and global citizenship education. For this reason, she started the project Japan Art Mile. I have a few questions to you, Atsuko Shiwako. What are the main goals of your International Japan Art Mile project?
Our main aim is to foster the global citizens who will create the future. We connect Japanese schools with schools from different countries, and they collaborate in this project with each other. See the mural. This mural is created by Japanese schools and Indonesian school. They, before they creating the mural, they share a lot of information and ideas on their theme. Their theme is environment and coexistence with disabled people. So this is their interactive and collaborative learning, and the mural is the outcome of their learning. So beautiful, isn't it? And the teachers, not only students but also teachers, can develop their competencies.
Can you please give us some numbers about the success of your project?
We connected more than 1,100 schools from 61 countries, and there are 40,000 students and 2,000 teachers we connected.
Tomorrow we will continue our best practice of the Japan Art Mile project with first-hand experience in a rural school in Ingleside. The school is 100 kilometers outside of Ottawa. Due to dangerous road conditions during winter time, we needed a second startup to reach to this village. So we visit now the Roswell Osnabrück School in Ingleside, and I'm really glad to get first-hand experience in this school today.
This is our story in the Japan Art Mile project this year.
We started off by making introduction cards.
Our partners in Japan also made introduction cards.
This is our school!
Then came our first Skype call.
Hello! My name is Brendan.
Hi.
Hey everyone!
Well, I did mostly the soccer area. I worked on hockey. Their gym is big and they went skiing. I also liked their food, it was okay.
I'd like to speak with you a little bit about your project, and I'm happy to be here today in Ingleside. So it's a rural school, and I love it to be here. Already.
Good, and we love having you here. So
Yes,
wonderful.
and already the journey from Ottawa to come here, this was exciting for me to be here. Okay, thank you again for picking me up in Ottawa.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And so let us jump directly in the project. From where did you hear about this Japan Art Mile project?
Probably about 8 years ago, I attended a conference about technology and education in Toronto, and heard about the broader network, the International Educators Resource Network, the IEARN network. And I attended a workshop and met some people that had taken part in one of the first years of the Japan Art Mile project. So about 2 years after that, I started my first project doing a Japan Art Mile mural with a partner class in Japan. I was at another school then. I was teaching in Prescott, Ontario then, also along the St. Lawrence Seaway. And had a wonderful experience, and in between I've done it a few times at a few different schools, and this is my second time that I do an Art Mile, Japan Art Mile project with a class here at Rothwell Osnabrück.
Okay, that sounds good. And so we have already personal experience with these kind of projects,
Yeah.
and so I can imagine. Is it helpful for you to have these kind of projects, international projects, for you in person, for the students, or what is your impression?
Where we live in Ontario is it's a rural part of Ontario. There's not a heavy population, and it's a very homogeneous population. So I find that a lot of our students don't have experience in meeting people from other cultures, other countries that speak other languages, and these sort of global communication projects seem to be a vehicle that works so well. It doesn't cost a lot of money. You don't have to book a field trip on an airplane, and the ability for them to make friends across oceans and continents is amazing. And the Japan Art Mile project has been really productive in that regard, because we've had wonderful structure and cooperation along the way. So,
And can you tell me a little bit about the flow? I think you start in September with this project, and it is going until March. Huh? So you have the several months.
Right. It starts. We introduce each other, like we introduce ourselves, and our partner class introduces themselves throughout probably the month of September, and then into October, we would have already shared some communications online, and possibly even mailed out a package, an introduction package, a welcome package. And for us, we ended up doing a Skype call with our partner class in the end of the month of September. So we jumped right in and met our class early. And my partner teacher in Japan, Miho Hayakawa, this year was really good about organizing pairs of students right away. We have almost the exact same number of students in the class. So
How many?
they had 30, and we ended up having 30. We started with 28 students, and we had a couple of students join us.
Okay.
So every student in my class had a partner in the Japanese class. And my students are grades 5 and 6, and their class, I believe, was grade 5.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the same age, kind of very similar in the demographics of the class. So when they partnered up, and they sort of became friends with their partner right away. So when they wrote a card, they would address the card to their partner, and when they spoke on the Skype call, we would alternate with the partners standing in front of the camera at that time. So, and
how did you figure out? So I'm learning from your hints here that you partner student by student. Yeah?
Right.
So it's not only in general the whole class. In addition,
it can be.
It can be. Okay.
But this teacher, Ms. Hayakawa, suggested right away that we partner the kids up, and the kids have obviously loved it. The students loved it.
That's good. Yeah. So they have in addition also maybe emails or something like this. The email.
Perhaps maybe down the road we'll extend the relationship with them, but in the scope of the project, it will come to an end within the next month.
I think you make a wonderful job here with your students and with your teacher, with your project teacher.
Thank you.
And I also got the impression that they got a lot of international experience with their Japan Art Mile project. And to make it short, I would like to ask you a few questions about your experience as a principal.
Sure.
And did you give them support for this project?
I think it's really important that all of our staff and students and indeed in our district and amongst all of our schools, it's important to support the notion of empowering people. So to that end, when staff come forward with projects or ideas that they believe will be able to help connect kids to a wider opportunity space and to build a better future, which is part of our district's mission, then indeed it's incumbent upon us to figure out ways to support that. This is a project that the teacher, Jim Lamoureux, has been conducting many years, and when he came to our school, wanted to continue to grow with that program. So our first question, of course, is how can we help to continue to build it?
Okay. Is this international experience also helpful for you as a principal of a school?
Absolutely. I think it's, we're well into the 21st century. So many of us, even as professionals throughout the world, are connected digitally, and we indeed know that our kids are connected digitally too. So as these tools become so much more accessible for our kids, we need to help them understand that connectivity and give them those opportunities to connect to humanity in a much wider way than we've never been able to do before.
Yeah, I can imagine. Would you suggest also other principals to get the same experience?
Absolutely. Pardon our bell. We just had a bell there.
Okay.
I absolutely would strongly recommend any type of program like this that connects kids around the world. For example, I had an opportunity to sit in the class with Mr. Lamoureux one evening where we had parents of our kids attend as well and do a video presentation to our kids in Japan as well, and that interactivity, and we could really see firsthand, as you saw today, the back and forth communication that can happen, as well as that collaboration on the project piece, which is really exciting. So yeah, I very strongly recommend it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We had wonderful days in Ottawa and changed new ideas during the UNESCO Week. Besides this global conference, it was very important for us to spend also one day in a small village of Canada. The children of the rural school in Ingleside encouraged us to continue work also with Germany. I will bring it now to our Bonn Green Valley, to develop some new ideas and concepts. Meanwhile, some people say that Bonn became the world capital city of sustainability. Indeed, during the last 20 years, Bonn developed step by step a global mindset. Meanwhile, we have around 20 United Nations organizations in Bonn. In November 2017 will be in Bonn the World Climate Summit in the World Conference Center.